The time is now 9 a.m. So we will begin our meeting. This meeting is open to the public and we have started recording. We'll begin with an introduction to our Spanish interpretation, as well as our language justice statement from Tanya Johnson.
Hello, good morning. My name is Tanya, and I'm the interpreter for the Environmental Justice Program at CDPHE. Today, I'm working with my colleague, Valentina. I'm going to read the Zoom instructions and the language justice statement first in Spanish and then repeat it in English. Hola, buenos días. Me llamo Tanya y soy la intérprete del Programa de Justicia Ambiental del Departamento de Salud Pública y Medio Ambiente de Colorado. Hoy estoy trabajando con mi colega, Valentina. Antes de comenzar, quiero asegurarme de que todos y todas hayan seleccionado el idioma adecuado en Zoom. Si prefieren escuchar la presentación en español, hagan clic en el globito que aparece en la parte inferior de la pantalla y seleccionen español bajo interpretación. Si están usando un teléfono celular o una tableta, hagan clic en los 3 puntos que están a la derecha donde dice More o Más y elijan el español como su idioma de preferencia. Las y los integrantes de la comunidad están invitados a hacer sus comentarios en español si así lo prefieren. Nuestra organización ha asumido el compromiso de fomentar la justicia lingüística. Invitamos a la comunidad a usar su idioma de preferencia para participar en la reunión. Les agradecemos que hablen lenta y pausadamente y que usen palabras comunes para que sea más fácil de interpretar. Before we get started, I would like to direct everyone to the appropriate in Spanish. You can, when the interpretation globe comes up, at the bottom of the screen, you can select Spanish there. And if you're on a tablet or phone, click the 3 dots to the right of your screen that says More and select Spanish there. During the meeting, there may be community members who choose to give their comments in Spanish. If you're not bilingual, you will need to click the English option to hear the interpretation. As an organization, we are committed to language justice. We would like to invite community members to participate in the meeting using their language of preference. In order to facilitate interpretation, please speak slowly, pause often, and use commonly understood vocabulary. Thank you so much. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tanya. And language interpretation is now enabled. Oops, sorry, Brandon, that's your line. So I know we have a little miscommunication here, and every time when that happens, I think that like my internet went down, so I'm panicking because I'm going next. But okay, here we are. So Brandon, I'll take this over, and I want to thank you, Tanya, and thank everyone here and welcome you to Colorado's second technical work session for 2024. My name is Scott Cassell. I am with the Product Stewardship Institute, and we are the facilitator for the advisory board. Today's meeting is a technical work session, and we will be discussing 2 topics: education and outreach, and post-consumer recycled content and materials. So the goal of today's meeting is to hear from speakers and provide input to CAA on the 2 topics. Now, we will accept public comment at the end of each discussion topic. An electronic roll call will be taken today. Board members, please type your name and affiliation in the chat and be sure to send it to everyone. We are not going to be doing a verbal roll call for these technical work sessions. I'll save us a little time. All right, I will now turn it over to Darla to introduce the statutory requirements for the Education and Outreach Program. Darla?
Thank you, Scott. My name is Darla Ahrens. Good morning, everyone. I am the Producer Responsibility Program Lead for the Department of Public Health and Environment. And I won't take up too much of your precious discussion time today, but since this is a new topic, I thought it was important to give you the statutory requirements and the context of the Education and Outreach Program to you. So first, the statute requires that the PROS funding mechanism must fund the direct and indirect costs of a statewide education and outreach program. So the plan proposal is required to utilize and expand on existing recycling services and infrastructure and existing education and outreach programs. And the plan proposal must also describe how the PRO will implement the education and outreach program. The Act also indicates that the PRO shall develop and implement a statewide education and outreach program that is designed to increase the recycling and reuse of covered materials and includes education and outreach on the proper end-of-life management of covered materials, the location and availability of recycling services under the program, and how to prevent littering in the process of providing recycling services for covered materials. The education and outreach program must, at minimum, provide clear and concise recycling instructions that are consistent statewide and accessible for all demographic groups. It must coordinate with existing recycling education materials and services provided throughout the state and be designed to help the state achieve the minimum collection and minimum recycling rate targets that are established in the final plan and reduce levels of and impacts of inbound contamination from covered materials at material recovery facilities and at compost facilities. The PRO shall consult with the advisory board and other entities providing recycling education in the state on the development and distribution of education and outreach services and materials. The PRO may contract with service providers, local governments, and nonprofit organizations to conduct the recycling education and outreach services. And the PRO shall develop a proposed methodology for evaluating and reporting on the effectiveness of the education and outreach program. Also, the annual report must include a summary of the education and outreach efforts that have been implemented. And lastly, tying into our later conversation today, in the cost formula for reimbursement, the recycling services costs includes public education about recycling programs. So keep that in mind. And so those are all the statutory requirements around the education and outreach plan. So now I'm actually going to turn it over to Caroline Mitchell from the City of Fort Collins, who will speak from the perspective of local government education and outreach. Go ahead, Caroline.
Good morning. As Darla said, I'm Caroline Mitchell with the City of Fort Collins, and I put together the topic of education and outreach can be very broad, but I just put together a handful of slides to support this conversation based on a couple of specific requests that Darla had shared. So I'm happy to share whatever perspective is useful for folks, but we'll use this as a starting place. So just as a little bit of background context for me, so I have worked in the recycling industry in one form or another for, I guess, 21 years now. And a lot of that has been in education and outreach has been a portion of my role. So that's some of the experience that I bring. I've been at the City of Fort Collins for 13 years and then was at 2 different recycling nonprofits prior to that. So I guess I say next slide, right? Just to give a little bit of context about Fort Collins for anyone who's not familiar with the community. We have 170,000 residents, 45,000 households, and we are a college town. We are home to Colorado State University. We have a licensed open market system for all the different sectors in the community we have historically, and we are just shifting this year to a single hauler contract. That'll start in September of this year, and that impacts only single unit households and then the small multi-unit households that use carts. But the rest of the community is still a licensed open market. And so that means that the city's role in the community is in this topic is in around policy. So we license the haulers. There's a regulatory element to our policy, and sort of we provide the system through which the collection takes place. We are the primary entity that provides education, and haulers will also provide education for their customers as well. And then we also are involved in infrastructure in that we offer the Timberline Recycling Center for the community. And this picture is a display that went up at the Smithsonian about the innovation culture in Fort Collins, in case that's a little bit of a different background than expected. A fun little point of pride for the community. Next slide. So some of the basic data perspectives about Fort Collins, I think we have fairly robust programs in place, and also, there's a lot of room for opportunity and growth as well. So we calculate our diversion rates that are the standard metric for a lot of communities of how much of their material is recycled or composted as opposed to being landfilled. So for the single unit residential, we are pretty close to that national average of 20, depending on the year, we have around 27 to 29% diversion rate. As we had talked about in our last meeting, businesses and multi-unit residential locations are combined in a lot of policy and also in data because they are collected using the same types of containers and the same types of trucks. So the diversion rate for that sector in Fort Collins is a little bit higher, between 28 and 32%. We also track industrial materials, which includes construction and demolition materials, the materials from our municipal operations. And we have a lot of recycling that goes on in that sector. So I know it is not in the purview of the EPR work here, but just as a side plug, I'm a big advocate for tracking industrial materials. There is a lot of material that can go unnoticed, and there are a lot of opportunities within that sector as well. So we do have a lot of recycling taking place of that asphalt and concrete and soil in Fort Collins. So that has a high diversion rate of 65 to 75%. So overall, we also report out our community diversion rate, which is all of those combined together, which rounds out to 52 to 55%, in large part due to that lots of industrial recycling going on. We also receive information about the contamination rate from the single stream. So that applies to both the residential and the commercial sectors. And it's a mix of the entities in Northern Colorado. It's the materials that are going to the Larimer County Recycling Center. But that contamination rate on the right side of the slide, we generally hover between 11 and 13%. So, that means a lot of the material that's ending up in the bin is the correct stuff. So that's a decent metric for us. And then I just have a link down here at the bottom to the location on our website where all of our reports are held. If anyone is a real data focused person and wants to dive more into the details, we do a report each year that includes a lot of our baseline information. And if we go to the next slide, here is just a preview of I have done this for a lot of years, and a lot of communities want to compare what's going on in their community to what's going on in other communities. And diversion rates can seem like an apples to apples piece of information, but there is a lot of variation between communities about what you actually are including in that. And so we strive to be as transparent as possible with all of our information. I'm not expecting anyone to be able to read the details on this slide, but this is just a preview of how we report out our data. We go as granular as possible without, we also want to protect the anonymity of our sources of our data. So we, compile to the material category, but one of our goals of reporting to this level is both transparency and also if other communities are wanting to have an apples to apples comparison, they can pull out the numbers that are relevant to their community. So all of that is this and other information is included in our annual report that is available on that link that Darla had also put into the chat for us. So next slide, that's just some of the baseline information about our community. Now, if we shift to a little bit more of a focus on education and outreach specifically, Darla had requested some information around the budget that we allocate to this. I should say that we have sort of a generalized budget, and we, sometimes move it between project costs or sort of other types of project costs or education or outreach, depending on what's going on that particular year. But in a baseline, we spend between 50 cents and $1 per household on our just sort of baseline education and outreach. So we make sure all of the residents get an updated copy of the recycling guidelines, a couple of different ways, a couple of different times a year. We have an ongoing social media campaign. We have, there's some just like baseline elements of keeping recycling information in the community. And then we'll also do special campaigns depending on what's going on in the community, whether it's planning efforts or rolling out new programs. We are in a massive rollout right now. I'd say the biggest we ever have been in the community is we are shifting to the contracted hauling program. And we are there between, and I forgot to write on this slide. So the dollars spent on this is a mixture of spending from the city of Fort Collins and the hauler that we've contracted to provide the service. But there is a lot more being invested in education and outreach in Fort Collins this year to help make sure everyone understands this change in the program coming and is set up for success in that program. And then we anticipate shifting back to more of a baseline level after this rollout year. And there is also, the perspective of staffing. You need people to do this work. And so we share the staffing with some of the other topics of work that we do, but I would estimate about half of the time of two different FTE, two different staff members are allocated to education and outreach, about half for our communications work and about half for the engagement work out in the community. And I also just, we've had this picture here for a long time. This is actually my son when he was a baby. So one of the joys of being involved in education and outreach is sometimes you get to get cute pictures of your baby and then put them in slides. And he's now 12 years old, but I bring him into presentations whenever I can. Okay, next slide. Darla had also requested that I share, at least from my perspective, some of the baseline elements that have been essential to our education and outreach and that I feel like sort of broadly are important in education and outreach. I think for this topic, it's incredibly, probably for all topics, but having as little text and as many graphics as possible to keep things accessible for folks is really important, whether you're talking about your social media posts or your guidelines or all the different types of communications. I think, like all things, frequency is also important, and you can't just rely on one approach. And we focus on making sure that we have different levels and different types of information going out on a regular basis. So the images that you see here are a social media campaign we had put together a couple years ago called Recycle Happy. And it was just social media posts where we would post some of the most common items that we wanted to make sure folks got into the recycle bin, like cardboard boxes, and some of the materials we wanted to make sure they didn't get in the bin, like plastic cutlery. And we would host recycle happy hours where people could, through social media, reach out about specific recycling questions that they had. So just lots of fun little campaigns, but that's sort of that high level of project. And then the mid-level information that includes sort of the full recycling guidelines. We have an example of our guidelines on the next page here. And then we also know that there are some folks that really want to know the details, and we want to make sure that we have those available for them. But we know that these are, to some degree, different audiences, or at least different types of interaction that folks want to have at different times. So we try to make sure that we have different information available that sort of matches all of those different niches, but that for the city of Fort Collins, we have our A to Z list on our website that lists all the different types of materials, whether it can be recycled or composted or has to be landfilled. So that's a robust, in-depth resource for folks. Next slide. So I think, so here's a copy of our recycling guidelines that I'd mentioned before. We do know that in our current system, the guidelines vary even within areas of our own state. And we wanted to make it clear for folks, also in our regional collaboration, that all the materials from Estes Park throughout Larimer County and in Loveland and Fort Collins all go to the same facility. So we all have the same guidelines. So we all collaborated to put our same logos on the same material, on the same guideline to help provide that clarity for folks that this applies in all of the Northern Colorado communities here. But going back over into some of the other information, I think we focus a lot on making sure that education is available wherever the people are interacting with a recycling bin. So creating posters or magnets or clings that can go on refrigerators, making sure that all cart lids have the clear graphics like this. We do have a number of community members who don't interact digitally, so we do always want to make sure that we have paper options available as well. Digital is a lot simpler, but also paper is important to make sure that we're not leaving some members of our community behind. And then in our work with multi-unit housing and commercial locations, a lot of my time at the city has been focused on that sector. And it's amazing how many times just some of these basics aren't functioning that really hinder the recycling efficacy in those sectors. So making sure that you have those graphic-based guideline stickers on the face of the dumpster that people see when they walk up to it, not just on the part of the dumpster that might be facing the wall. Putting signs above the dumpster in an enclosure where that makes sense. And for move-in or any types of rentals, multi-unit or single-unit housing, making sure the guidelines are part of move-in packets and are part of the move-in orientation. Or we've even had some complexes that have had even better success by just leaving the recycling guidelines either on the counter or and a magnet on the fridge whenever they turn a unit over. So just helping make sure that the recycling information is just part of the basic systems everywhere we're going. And of course, we want to really make sure that we're including equity considerations in any of our education and outreach. The materials should include Spanish at a minimum, and of course, engaging directly with members of the BIPOC community members. So that's Black, Indigenous, and people of color community members to understand the systems and the community from all their from everyone's perspectives, and making sure we're addressing any barriers identified. And I believe my last slide is Darla asked me to maybe start our conversation with engage in the conversation with some initial questions for the conversation with Circular Action Alliance. And Darla, I don't know, maybe I didn't know if you actually wanted me to make this a slide. I can also just pause here and come back to that in the discussion.
Yeah, so Caroline, yeah, thank you very much for that presentation. I can jump in here, and we can ask these questions right now. I guess it's maybe a question for Pete as well. Pete, these are questions that Caroline has put together as an addition to her presentation to get the discussion going. I know, Pete, you're going to be up next to talk about what, some of the issues around the plan. And what do you think about these questions here? Can we ask them of you and get an answer and start the discussion?
Sure. Yeah, I'm I had a couple of questions of Carolyn. I don't know if we can maybe start there, if there were just general questions on Carolyn's presentation, and then we can move into questions.
Absolutely. We've got 10-15 minutes. We can do that here.
Okay. So Carolyn, it would be helpful to understand, just from a resource perspective for Fort Collins, when you look at the cost of providing educational materials to single-family homes versus multi-unit or multi-residential units, is there a difference in costing? And I asked the question partially just because obviously, you're dealing with some differences. I mean, I think you mentioned them with, signage on a dumpster instead of signage potentially on a signage that's more going to the individual homeowner. You've got more turnover in a multi-unit residential home. So I'm just wondering if you've got any ideas to sort of, are there cost differentials on that side that are helpful for the pro to think through?
Darla, am I supposed to still say my name and affiliation with Caroline Mitchell, City of Fort Collins?
You're good for this discussion, Caroline. Thank you.
Okay. That's a great question, Peter. We have not categorized our expenses by sector in that way, but my instinct is that I don't know whether the cost is different, but the approach is absolutely different. You know, I think so one of the approaches that will get to residents in single unit households won't necessarily get to residents of multi-unit households. So for instance, in our utility bill, we do a utility bill insert at least once, sometimes multiple times a year. And those go to the residents of single unit households, but most residents of multi-unit households don't receive that utility bill directly. So, so there is, in some senses, the single unit households, in some senses, are simpler because there are a number of different channels that you can connect with them directly, and you know, their service is more uniform and all those different elements that we sort of know of why a lot of folks focus on single unit households as a starting place in their programs. I think multi-unit households, it's more dependent on engagement because a lot of the communication, you know, unless you're able to connect through social media or I don't know. Also, I'm sure like tomorrow I will have all sorts of other ideas. These are just the things off the top of my head, but a lot of the communication for residents of multi-unit households comes through the property management. So that's where, in my experience, it's actually been more of the engagement time investment. So connecting with the property managers. So in Fort Collins, as a college town, there is there's an off-campus housing fair every year, and all of the big apartment complexes in the community attend that. And so I have often leveraged that as an opportunity to go connect with all of the property managers at one time and connect with them about how their recycling program is going. And, you know, are they still including materials in their packets, and what resources can we give to them? And so I guess the bottom line is, I would say there is more of a staff time and engagement role in the multi-unit and commercial, and I'd have to give some more thought into the actual like cost of the different parts of it.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you. Pete, do you have another question? Gail has one waiting here.
I do, but I'll let Gail go first.
That's nice of you. Gail.
Oh, thank you, Peter. I can obviously hold my question, but since I've got the floor, Scott, it's Gail Gary, Steamboat Springs City Council. Caroline, just a quick clarifying question in terms of the cost that you put forward on the slide. I think you had $1 and you had $4.50, and I'm assuming that those are just for kind of the materials themselves, and that didn't include any sort of allocation for the FTE or the staff time that was put into putting all of that together. So I see a head nod.
Correct. Yes, yeah, I looked at our budgets over the last couple of years, and sort of the dollars spent on materials and ads, sort of all the costs separate from the humans, and then including the humans in the separate line item because they're essential as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, we'll go to Pete next, and if others have questions, just put the hand function up and we'll get those questions asked. Pete?
So one additional question. So I think it was a great outline of what you're currently doing. I think I'm interested a bit on how what needs to be improved in the system. So is it this is working perfectly and there's no changes that are needed? Are there and it's probably an unfair question because I'm asking you to critique your own services. But again, I'm interested in where improvements potentially could be made.
Well, clearly our program is perfect. No, I don't think there is such thing as a perfect program. I think one of the areas that we are looking at is how to get more frequent and granular information about the materials that are in the recycle bin and in the trash bin. I think we'll probably be starting in single family, and we'd love to expand it out to multifamily, but being able to I think we have a strong baseline program. And I think part of our opportunity will be in getting more targeted communication around specific materials, or maybe even certain parts of the community where we may be missing recyclable opportunities, or maybe having higher contamination rates. We're putting together a study next year to kind of figure out a methodology for that next opportunity of both information and then being able to translate that into programs, education and outreach. That's the first thing that comes to mind for me. But we've also, I think we have a lot of opportunities we've made a lot of strides in our engagement in the equity focus of our sort of understanding and our engagement and outreach, and we have a lot of room to grow there as well. So we conducted a project a year or two ago. We called the Barriers to Recycling project, where we were engaging in listening sessions with a wide variety of community members that are historically underserved, and identifying barriers that they're encountering to interacting with the system. So I know those are sort of broad generalities, and I think there is also, in sort of the broad engagement with the community, there's always space for new methodologies, new ideas, new ways to connect with the community as well.
Thank you, Karen.
Pete and Caroline. We have Liz and then Mark. Liz?
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you, Caroline, for that presentation. I really appreciate you giving all of us a peek into the high-performing programs at Fort Collins. Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado. And I have a question that is really more directed towards Peter, and perhaps you're about to cover this, but one of the groups of people that Recycle Colorado frequently interacts with are the people that are currently engaged in the recycling education and outreach in communities throughout the state. And I think Caroline and the published information about outreach would confirm that one of the most effective and meaningful ways to get people to change their behavior is to have face-to-face interactions with another human being. Hence why Caroline listed that a way she would improve things is add more engagement staffing. It clearly will be impossible for CAA to put a person in every community. And so I am curious if the plan is to leverage those organizations already in communities throughout the state, whether it's government entities or nonprofit groups that can serve that role to be the in-person information arm for the materials that CAA wants to disseminate.
That's a big question. Thank you. So yes, I think we are looking at, what we can utilize of what's happening on the ground currently right now. I think we're discussing right now the best ways potentially to leverage that, and how we might support that. So I don't think a full sort of plan has been set yet, Liz, on that side. I think we're still looking for feedback in those areas, knowing that there are certainly local governments that are providing this support. There are other not-for-profit entities that are in this space. Obviously, the private sector is doing some of the communication as well through their services. So I think we're looking right now at what the right way to balance working with the various groups is.
Right. So Liz, you're bringing up the human infrastructure there for education, in addition to the facilities and collection and other things as well. Thank you. Mark.
Hey, good morning. Mark Petrovich, Republic Services. So I'll echo what Liz just commented on. Thank you, Caroline, for that presentation. That does cover a lot of the information similar to what Republic or other haulers would do concerning outreach. So I'm going to take a step back on where there was a question of where there's areas for improvement or could be for improvement. And that is the social media or reaching out electronically. So in our world in hauling, when we have a subscription customer that signs up with Republic or Waste Management or Waste Connections individually, we have their contact information because we do the billing to them, right? We're going to have phone number. Generally, we have an email. So we do have ways to contact. Oops, sorry, I got a phone call coming in. Let me close that. However, in a city contract, we don't have access to that information. Essentially, we get a list of addresses. We don't even have residents' names unless they contact us directly because they want to pay for a second container, they want to pay for a bulk pickup, and then we gather that information. But as a general rule, we don't have that contact information, and the city is legally not allowed to provide us all of that information. So the way we go about that is as providing a QR code on all of our outreach that goes to these cities, asking people to sign up on an app with Republic, and this could be an app through CAA or the Pro, for them to put their information in to receive information in updates, right? Then we can gather that information. So a real area that's lacking right now, in our opinion, is the ability to touch people electronically because it's inexpensive, it's quick and easy. You can have links on there for people to go. For example, a Republic website we have is called recyclingsimplified.com. It has lots of YouTube videos. They're very short, 90 seconds or less, but it gives people a visual and an education on composting, on recycling. But the ability to contact these people is difficult because they have to provide us their information in order for us to reach out. So, if we can discuss and kind of kick this around ways that we could get folks to sign up and provide that information, that would make outreach fast, cost effective, and timely.
I don't know if that was, if Caroline, you want to have an answer, or Pete, if you have a response, but it seemed pretty plain, reaching people and, figuring out the best way to do that. There's a lot of information, and I guess that'll go into the program. So Caroline, did you want to answer that question? And then Peter, if you have a question, then Clinton has his next.
I guess I don't know if I necessarily have an answer to the question, but I think I think it's one of the challenges of most communities is that we don't have the direct contact information, other than an address for most community members. And, and other than the utility billing, sort of the paper mailing side that I was talking about. So I guess I would, agree with what Mark is saying. And I think that finding, where the folks are and how best to reach them is, at the heart of every engagement program and challenge.
Yeah. Okay, Peter?
And I just wanted to follow up, I guess, on two things, Mark, with your comments. So one is, and maybe I'm missing something. Wouldn't you have the direct contact information because you're billing each of those customers? So wouldn't you, as part of that, capture that information from them? And then I guess my second question is just a little bit more towards the, just question of how multifamily may be different from single family in that respect.
Okay. Mark Petrovich with Republic Services. A good question, Peter. So the city contracts that we currently serve, only one do we provide the billing. In one city, we actually have the responsibility of providing the billing. Fort Collins will be another that we will do the billing. Every other city that we contract with, it is a summary bill system, meaning we provide an upload to the city once a month showing the address, the container sizes that are on site, and then the billing that associated with that. So we don't actually have that contact information of each individual resident. Only if they reach out to us for a service, in addition to what the contract is, then we gather all of that information. Even though we're going to do the billing in Fort Collins, that gives us an address, maybe a phone number, but it doesn't necessarily give us an email. That there's a lot of legal implications behind that, Peter, and that is something that has to be given to us by the owner of that email, right? They have to provide that for us. So it's a very slow, very inefficient way to one-off gather that data. Your second question on multifamily, I think as far as the cost aspect, I don't think there's a difference in cost, and I think Caroline is spot on with that. But she is spot on the approach is different, and generally that we would like to approach that in more of a face-to-face kind of a meeting, because we'll work with the property manager. Most multifamily properties have some sort of firm or organization that manages it, or an HOA board if it's not managed by a professional management firm, where we can ask to be invited and come to an HOA meeting. Or if we work with the property management firm, they have access to contact information for all of these folks. So they would include information that we want to get out in whatever outreach that they're doing with their residents. So cost isn't different. Time commitment is a little different with multifamily, and the approach is different.
Thank you, Mark. We'll take one or two more questions, then we're going to go to the questions here and hopefully get some quick answers from Peter, and then we'll move on. So we have Clinton and then Junior.
Yes, Clinton Sander, A1 Organics. Carolyn, thank you so much for that presentation. That's fantastic. My big question for you is, how are you, I have two-part question, is like, how are you tracking your engagement? Like, how are you actually showing the engagement of what you're producing when it comes to your educational programs, or actually not indirectly tracking it through the lower rates of contamination or your increased in diversion? I mean, that's more of an indirect effect of your actions, but how are you actually tracking your engagement from your programs so that you can see that you are getting the engagement, who's engaging, so that you can build from that? Because I think it's really important to understand how your engagement's actually being seen. And then my second question would be, within your educational programs in the city, are you providing the why? Are you showing the benefit of the actions that the city is having? Like, we just recycled, 20,000 tons of plastic. What did that turn into? What was the benefit? Why was it so great that everybody else put the right thing in the right bin? I think you know what I'm getting at. So like, I think our education campaigns have to support the why. Why are we doing this? Why is it so beneficial? So could you just briefly speak to those two things?
Sure.
I'm sorry, it's a big question. Both of them are.
It's fine. I think similar to finding where the people are and how best to engage with them, I think how best to measure the impact of our communications and our outreach is a perennial challenge. And I haven't found anybody yet who has found like the metric of like, oh, this is exactly, a lot of people have put a lot of thought into it over a lot of years, and it's hard to find an outcomes-based metric rather than an input metric of, we put in this much time, we engaged with this many people, sort of element. And is that actually was that your question, Clinton, of like how we measure the impact of our engagement and outreach?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess,
like, do you really know who you're actually getting to and who you're not?
Well,
through your programs, like, are you tracking this data?
For our engagement, I would say that the answer is yes and no. We do our best to make sure that our engagement is going to different parts of the community. So we're not only going to Earth Day fairs where we may be talking to folks that are already engaged in this topic, that we're also, we have a lot of programs that are engaging with some of the mobile home parks in Fort Collins on a lot of different topics from the city. And so we are part of that collaboration to help engage with. So I guess I would say we're intentional about trying to engage in lots of different parts of the community, and to we're focusing a lot more on engaging in events that are already happening from other entities and how we can support those entities and sort of engage in their events rather than trying to create separate events that we're trying to bring people to. So I guess we're trying to go to visit a diverse group of audiences in different places around the community and vary the different ways that we're communicating with the community. And it is a never-ending challenge. That is, another one of those just parts of the heart of education and outreach. And your comment around the why, I think it's so hard because generally we have a limited amount of time with folks, and there are different folks that are interested in different things. And so whenever we have a longer presentation with folks, I always start off with some of the why about recycling, of, the context that everybody knows they're supposed to recycle, but we don't necessarily always know the why, and sort of sharing that perspective. For the briefer interactions, I think it depends on what the person is seeking. But that is definitely the why is definitely a part of the information that we provide on our website, and that we share when folks are interested and when we have enough time to connect with them. But absolutely an integral part of the message.
Great,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Clinton.
I think it reinforces some of what Mark's saying with personal engagement and person-to-person contact, and then also reinforcing what Mark was also, I want to reinforce what Mark said, was video production and getting that in front of people through digital communications. I mean, 85% of the entire world is sitting right here on this device, and that's where we got to get everybody. So I just thank you so much. Really appreciate what you do.
Yep. And we also have a series of videos on some of the, there's some of those key questions that everyone asks always, that we have our own a video list of just answers for those FAQs.
Thank you for that. Mark, question, comment?
Just a real quick comment, Mark Petrovich, Republic Services, on Clinton's question. So Clinton and group, we don't have a way to actually track a metric to say we know this many people read our outreach, whether it's electronic or hard copy. So we don't have a metric for that. However, we do track our outreach and the effectiveness of our outreach based on load contamination that are coming into us, right? Whether it's a recycle center or it's going to you, Clinton. I've had some dirty loads come to you recently, and that was kind of out of the norm. And we've had some meetings about it, and we've tracked it down. So I do know what city it's coming from, and it's actually, and I can track it down by truck number and route, right? So I can kind of look at the efficacy of our outreach in some of those aspects. We know that these dirty loads are coming out of trailer parks on the route that we're running trailer parks. That's not unusual. That's the norm for dirty recycle, dirty organics. But in those instances, you can put a focal effort right in that area. We can put additional outreach, or maybe we meet with the park manager and have a meeting in that community, because I can't nail down how specific, but I can nail down routes where things are coming in and they're getting dirty. So there are ways to track and improve the effectiveness of your outreach, but that's really the way we go about it as a hauler, is by route and contamination that we're seeing. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Can I speak to that real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I mean, what Mark's saying is fantastic, because yes, him and I and the teams have been working closely on some incoming contamination loads that are out of all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, what just happened? Where did this come from? But what I think, Mark, you're also bringing up, which is really key to this educational campaign and understanding what's happening, is having the funding and the support to allow a compost manufacturer like me to have the ability to provide all that feedback back to Mark, so he can take all that feedback back to Carolyn, and we can work together through this system of finding the contamination challenges, so we can educate the right people who maybe are just not getting the education. And it's just ignorance. It's not they're being bad. It's just they just didn't realize it. So that's just a great point, Mark, and thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, Junior, you had your hand up, then it went down.
I did.
Now it's
No,
up.
I did.
Ready? Okay.
Yep. No,
please.
I haven't raised my hand, and then I saw you put me on the list, so I lowered it, so I didn't forget.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
So I just have a few.
Good.
Sorry, Junior, Environmental Justice. I just have a few questions. I do apologize. I was late a little bit, so Caroline, I'm sorry I missed a little bit of your presentation, but I know what I did when I did join. You said something about. I guess my question is, how far is this facility that you go to in Fort Collins that collects all your recyclable? Is that very close to, I mean, your city? Is it within the city?
Yeah, it's adjacent to Fort Collins. It's between Fort Collins and Loveland.
Okay, because and then that goes to my other question with maybe this one's for Pete, is some of the challenges that we have here somewhere a little more rural out in the mountains or western slopes, that we don't really have the luxury of those kind of facilities. They're not nearby. So what ends up happening is, you know, it goes to landfills. And that's, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose. I guess my question is, what is CIA kind of doing to address those rural communities that don't have a nearby facility, that don't have easy access to recycling other than what's maybe being provided by local governments? You know, are you guys looking into infrastructure or reimbursements for, you know, nonprofits, local governments to help accommodate or educate, or even for the hauling, you know, where if the nearest facility is 60 miles away, are those hauling, you know, what kind of stuff are you guys looking in for that to make sure that, you know, when local governments are investing or nonprofits are investing in education, that everyone's being kept happy for that matter? Because I personally, you know, me specifically being in a situation where I manage a landfill, I supervise a landfill, I live in a rural community, and I see all this stuff that comes in our day-to-day trash. It's pretty heartbreaking when it's a lot of recycled material, including glass. So, and that's just because there's not, it could be like what Clinton said, it could be ignorance, it can be lack, or they don't care, or they don't know any better. But I think that's the challenge that I feel that we see a lot in rural communities, that we don't really have that facilities nearby to help accommodate or for us to recycle better. So I don't know if that's what haulers just lead to the nearest facility, which then it becomes a landfill.
Yeah, so thanks, Junior. I think you know, essentially that is our responsibility as the producer responsibility organization, and as part of this plan, is to ensure that collection is provided on par with garbage collection. Recycling collection is provided on par with garbage collection in the state, and we need to make sure that there are the right incentives in place so that material is collected properly, sorted, hauled to the nearest processor, properly, you know, sorted into commodities, and then sold into to responsible end markets. So, you know, I think the pro's responsibility is to find the right financial mechanisms to make sure that that activity is happening across the state. So, where there are difficulties in rural areas, we need to find ways to address those, whether it's, you know, potentially hauling those materials over longer distances, whether that means that there is the need for new development of new infrastructure. That's what we'll be addressing as part of the program plan.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Junior. Caroline, and then this will be the last comment question for now, because Pete's going to be speaking in a minute, but Jake's got one sneaking in here. Jake, you want to have one afterwards? So Caroline and then Jake, and then let's get to these questions, and then Pete's going to present. We're going to have a whole slew of other questions that Pete has for all of you. So we have a lot more discussion, but this is a great conversation. Caroline first, and then Jake.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to some of the conversation between Clinton. Oh my gosh. Okay. Some of Clinton's comments here that were, yes. I wanted to come back into measurement as you were pointing out some of our digital tools, Clinton. You know, some of our digital engagement is actually far easier to track, at least our engagement. So, you know, of course we can track our website visits and the newsletter open rate and our social media engagement. hits. So that's another one of the benefits of the digital media. So just wanted to clarify, we do have some of those additional metrics, and also to build on what Mark and Clinton were talking about with the feedback throughout the system. I think it is one of those major tension points in this industry, and a real area, I think, of opportunity. I think there's a real tension for haulers between efficiency. I think there is a strong incentive for cost-effective, efficient service, but that can disincentivize some of those things that lead to higher quality materials. So when you slow down to pay attention to the materials going into the truck and to put oops tags on bins that had incorrect materials in them, and if you ideally share that information directly back to the resident or to the community, so that there can be more focus on those materials, I think if there's just the tension between paying attention to the materials and providing feedback, whether it's to the resident or to the community throughout that process, versus the more efficient collections. But I do think anytime that we can build in incentives for more communication throughout the system, everyone benefits.
Great, thank you, Caroline. Over to you, Jake.
Okay, thanks. And I apologize for being late this morning. I had an unexpected situation pop up this morning. So I missed much of the initial presentation, but just hopping in on the conversation that Junior was bringing up. I think I'm definitely in one of those rural areas where our waste is hauled 70 miles plus one way, waste and recycling. And something that we can do to address that are transfer stations or drop-off stations that are staffed. And people in rural areas, oops, turn my volume up. Okay. I'll get on that after my comment, hopefully, if I'm still.
You hear you good. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
People in rural areas are accustomed to heading into town from time to time or heading into the transfer station, and so that's not unreasonable to ask people to drop things off at a transfer station in very rural areas. The key is just to have those staffed, and those can also be areas where there are other hard to recycle materials that are collected, like e-waste or batteries. And just had a meeting with the Circular Economy Development Center that is designing milk runs to come and pick up more difficult to recycle materials from rural areas and take that back to Pueblo. And so I think transfer stations and drop-off stations are something we definitely need to keep in the conversation for rural areas.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. There's clearly a lot of interplay between public education and infrastructure. So I think that, I know that we're going to have a lot of more discussion about the infrastructure here, and it does go hand in hand. And I think that's what Jake, you and Junior are pointing out here. And as the infrastructure gets developed, the education is going to have to go along with it, and there's other opportunities there. But let's go to these three questions here, and I believe that these are Caroline's questions for you, Peter. And let me just ask them, and if we can get a quick answer, that would be great. And then you can move on to your presentation. And I know you have a bunch of questions for the advisory board, and I want to make sure that we get to those. So first one is, with the creation of the minimum recyclables list, how much of the recycling education materials will be created by CAA versus at the local level? A little bit like Liz's question, perhaps, which is, how do you use the infrastructure that's there? Have you thought through that? Maybe this is a suggestion for CAA in their plan. Peter?
Yeah, so I think, and we'll get into this a little bit more detail, but I think we're looking at some materials are going to be developed as templates that provide opportunities for adjustment in. Some of the materials will allow for, just, like an image repository where you can pull images that local communities may want to use. So I think we're going to have adaptable materials. I think there's always a question about how much adaptability. But I think we're trying to find that right balance of allowing communities to communicate because they know their residents, or local service providers know their residents or their customers better than we will. So allowing for that adaptability. And I think there was an interesting perspective brought at the last meeting of just, the painting of trailers to collect recyclable materials. I mean, we also want to make sure that we're allowing for innovation to happen as well. So I think there's a balance there in what's being driven by the pro and what is allowed for as well to incent other types of unique approaches that might be taken. And I think Liz certainly brought up the non-governmental organizations, the not-for-profits that are doing work in this area, and they often have a much different perspective on different groups that and how materials need to be adapted to those communities to make sure the message gets out properly.
Great, thanks. So, a lot of template and being able to customize locally, but also that balance there between different perspectives. Second question here is, how will centrally created educational materials be adaptable if local communities can accept additional materials? So focusing on the adaptation for additional materials created.
Yeah, so I think this is where materials can be set up as templates, the ability to add for additional materials, Carol, in that situation. And I think we would work with those local governments to make sure that as we develop those templates, they meet the needs of those communities. So ensuring that there's enough flexibility to allow them to, again, potentially add nuances that might be within each of those communities, including, maybe additional materials that might be collected in that specific municipality as opposed to others.
Great, thank you. And the third question is, what will be the role of CAAA versus local governments or nonprofits or other local entities in distributing the educational materials and conducting outreach?
Yeah, so I mean, I think CAA will likely look to those other entities as being the distribution of those materials. I mean, CAA will obviously have a website, digital face that will speak to different entities which we're servicing, residents or some of those non-residential covered entities. But I think there's obviously a different relationship that's in place that local governments have, that local service providers or some of those nonprofits have with their communities. And we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of those relationships that are already in place rather than trying to create new ones.
Okay. All right, thank you all. Again, Caroline, thank you for your presentation to kick us off here. You got a very cute kid there, so it's nice to see him on the screen. And now we're going to move into Peter's presentation. And as I mentioned, after a short presentation here, there will be some questions for the advisory board. Then we will do the public comment after that time on this section. So over to you, Peter.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. And just before I start, I do have one of my project team, Betsy Dorn, that has joined the call today. So she can correct me where I may make horrendous mistakes or add clarification where needed. So just going to walk through, I'll just, if we can move to the first slide. We've talked already a little bit about the requirements or Darla spoke to this already. She obviously spoke in more detail around the specifics around all of the different pieces of the legislation that speak to promotion and education. We've talked already to some degree about the reimbursement side as part of some of our other discussions. So I'm not speaking to that area specifically today. I'm more talking about how we plan to who we're targeting with our communication and education materials, how we're potentially, what roles different groups play. So I think fitting more to some of the questions that that Carolyn asked. We've added some proposed objectives that we would follow as part of education and outreach. These do fit really in line with what is in the legislation, so they shouldn't be new to anybody, but obviously promoting awareness of recycling, composting, reuse, refill programs, and proper end-of-life management of covered materials among all generators. Provide information on the location, availability, schedule of recycling services, as well as compost, reuse, and refill. Increase the recycling, composting, and reuse of covered materials with the aim of achieving the defined collection and recycling targets that are in place or will be in place in the program plan. Prevent litter associated with covered materials, reduce contamination in inbound recycling and compost material streams, ensure all partner organizations understand their roles and the tools and materials that would be available to them to perform education and outreach, ensure accessibility to all demographic groups, and inform the public of the availability of annual reports and other information regarding the EPR program, as well as opportunities to provide input. So that's just a broad overarching of what we see as the proposed objectives of education and outreach. Next step, or next slide. So we've tried to just sort of set out, the different types of audiences that we'll be reaching out to. So we have generators that would be obviously residential and non-residential. And from those, we're looking for them to understand the services, the opportunities to participate, how to participate. So, how can you get your materials collected? Is that curbside? Is that drop off? What do you need to know about contamination? What are the benefits of participation within the program? Understanding applicable local requirements. So again, we might have some differences, I think, as Carolyn had mentioned, around what might be accepted within different communities. We obviously want to push full participation, and we want to reduce the amount of contamination that might be making its way into its system. For local governments, we're looking for them to understand that understand EPR, the EPR program itself, what opportunities there are to participate relative to both residential and non-residential covered entities. Ensure that they understand what tools are available to them and our willingness to partner in education and outreach efforts. Understand best practices for avoiding litter during the recycling process. Both curbside and depot, as well as addressing potentially areas around public space to avoid litter generation. For tribal organizations, we would be looking at very similar types of desired outcomes as to local governments. And then for service providers and other partner organizations, and by that I include some of the nonprofit entities that Liz mentioned some time ago. We're looking for awareness of the EPR program, CEA's role, and service providers or our other partner organizations opportunities to work with us, understanding how they can sign up to be a program service provider, understanding what expectations we'd have of them if we're working with them around outreach and education, what materials might be available to them, and understanding how they can partner with us for messaging and shared information. And then making sure that we're also getting feedback from those organizations to understand, differences, cultural differences that we might need to, or socioeconomic issues that we might need to understand to make sure that the messaging is getting out. As I mentioned, or as I think Mark talked about, and I think certainly Clinton's talked about, understanding where problems are going to come directly from those that are providing the servicing. So understanding where potentially, we may have areas of high contamination or other areas. We want to make sure that we're getting the feedback on that side and understanding what types of remediation steps we can take to address some of those issues. Next slide over. So the next slide really just sort of walks through a little bit on the proposed roles. So for CAA, we're obviously developing the central website. We're developing core messaging. We're funding and coordinating messaging. We're providing partners with tools, so customizable templates, image repositories, providing multiple languages for materials that might be provided. So this would include everything from some of the things that we've talked about today around if a municipality was or local government was looking at materials for that sort of welcome package that would go into a multi-residential building, whether that would be signage at a drop-off facility to make sure that or communication on the bins. So making sure that we're looking at and providing those types of materials that can be used in any of those type of situations. We have spoken, I think, about this before, but there is a requirement for us to work with publishers to establish an agreement around in-kind donations that may be made in lieu of payment to the pro. So we would need to put that piece in place. And then, as mentioned, we'll need to assess the effectiveness of education outreach as we move forward. And I think there are definitely challenges on that side. It's not always necessarily completely easy to look at, X material went into the marketplace. How do we know how effective that was versus everything else that's happening around it? So that is difficult, but I'll speak a little bit to how we might do that. For CDPHE, we'd look for them as being a potential outlet for program information. They obviously do attract a fair amount of traffic that comes to their site. So being able to work with us around making sure that we're both producing similar information. I will mention, since I have put this slide together, there was another request from us to add some additional around CDPHE and just educating around producers and their responsibility and obviously discouraging free riders as well. For local governments and tribal organizations, we would their role would be potentially to partner with CA to promote key objectives through engagement with their residents and local businesses and spread awareness. Again, that would be a voluntary role for them to play, obviously with compensation coming from CA for that work. Assist with education and outreach, monitoring and evaluation where that may be appropriate, and there might be opportunities to get that information back. Identify for us local context and potential issues, again, as we look to establish some of those template materials and template images and things like that they would be using. For service providers and other partners that perform outreach and education to service recipients in accordance with, again, what we might have as contract specifications with them. They would assist with education, outreach, monitoring, and evaluation. They would identify, again, issues that might be important for us to understand, spread awareness about the programs and participation opportunities, and again, hopefully use the types of outreach tools and information that we provide available for them in their work with different entities. Next slide over. So proposed approach, again, we plan to look to partner with the various entities in the delivery of the messaging, as well as the adapting of the messaging that would go out to their residents. We are looking to leverage existing materials where we can. So if there are materials that are currently working in specific areas, we want to try to make sure we build from those opportunities. We will develop and provide key messaging and customizable templates for any of our partners to use in implementing. We'll work to achieve harmonization across communities. Again, when I say harmonization, I think there's an understanding that there are differences throughout the state when it comes to demographics, when it comes to communities. We've talked quite a bit in the past through the needs assessment around resort communities and the seasonal populations that flow through that and challenges that come with that. So there are differences, but as much as possible, ensuring that as people move throughout the state, that there's similar types of messaging that they're receiving across. We use a broad range of tools to reach different audiences. So I think Clint and Mark spoke about sort of the social side of things around websites and apps and social media. So looking at using and leveraging those types of tools, radio and TV, looking at print. Obviously, that fits with the in-kind work that I mentioned earlier, and then in-person messaging at events and other types of opportunities where we can get directly in front of people. Again, we look at other tools where necessary, and obviously there's always innovation that's happening. So looking at opportunities too, to be able to take advantage of where there's interesting approaches that may be taken that we can support that might produce new opportunities and encourage people to be involved. Again, I thought that was quite an interesting presentation with the trailers the other day. I think that's our in our interest to potentially look at making sure that we're allowing for those types of approaches. Engage with municipalities and community or in counties as well as service providers to provide outreach in a mutually agreed upon and equitable manner. Next slide. So we talked about this already a little bit. I think Carolyn did a good job of talking about this, and we talked through some of the issues. Education and outreach is difficult to some extent to measure. We're looking at how we would do this through the tracking of tonnage that's being collected throughout the states and different communities, looking at participation rates and set out rates. Whether those are improving, whether those are declining, contamination data. So looking at those pieces on an ongoing basis to understand what may or may not be working and where additional attention may be needed around promotion education. Where feasible, and I will say it's not always necessarily feasible or appropriate to review data after education outreach campaigns, but looking at opportunities where we can do that as part of campaigns that we might be running. Identify the reach of campaigns, and we can do that much more easily through digital media, but looking for opportunities with that and looking at opportunities to track the effectiveness of outreach with our partners. So again, I think certainly when it comes to things like approaches being used to increase greater participation within areas, service providers can see that potentially happening with the amount that's being put out on a regular basis. Contamination can be measured by our MRFs, so whether contamination might be going up or down. So when we're running campaigns, we can look at how that's actually impacting the numbers. And then we'll look at annually reporting on the efforts. So what is the effort that's going into communication? Where are the focuses, and how might that be impacting the overall numbers across the state? Next slide. So I've added some questions in here, which I can leave to you, Scott, if you want to go through them. I've chosen some that are sort of more broad-based questions, some that are more specific areas that I think would be helpful for us to just understand a little bit more about. I know that compostables is an area that's come up quite a bit, and I think we're looking at how do we make sure that we are looking at best practices in that area. And then non-residential is helpful for us to understand as well. They are a different type of entity that isn't necessarily reached the same way as you'd reach a single family home or a multi-residential building that might have a property management company that's in place. So I think we're interested in potentially where we might see some opportunities on that side and advice on that side to help as we develop the plan in more detail.
All right, thank you, Peter. So just before we dig into here, I would like to just ask Brandon if he could jump in here and ask for any public comments.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. If any stakeholders, members of the public currently present in the meeting do have any form of comments, if you could please indicate so in the chat box in the next 1 to 2 minutes, we'll give you an opportunity to have your comment. If we do not see any indications in the next minute or two, we will continue on so we have more time for discussion.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. All right, so here's a list of questions. I don't think we have to go through every one of them. The first one's on objectives. That goes back to slide 20, is proposed objectives. The only thing, and maybe you, Brandon, if you can put it back to 20, the only thing that I saw in there, just from, and this is Clinton, your comment, the why, is not necessarily on here, so maybe it's something to consider. I know it's pretty standard. We kind of gloss over it, but objectives is certainly for people to understand why they're doing what they're doing. But that's what just came to mind. Let me just say quickly, anything else on the objectives at this point that people have? Of course, you can comment afterwards, but if not, we'll then move to the next question. Okay.
And we do have a comment. It's just been written. And also, folks, if you do want to verbally say your comment, you do have a 2-minute time window. If you could just cue that up for me, I'm happy to give you an opportunity to speak as well. But Marty said, hi, I have a quick comment about what we've learned as part of the TASP project in terms of importance. Actually, we'll finish the discussion here, Marty, and then we'll actually give that an opportunity here. So Scott, you go ahead.
Okay, we'll continue here and then we'll give Marty an opportunity during the public comment period to talk about this. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Liz.
Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado. So one of the questions I have about some of these proposed objectives, in particular when you're talking about preventing litter associated with covered materials, is there any data that CAA has to establish the baseline so that you can actually compare what it was without this education versus what it is afterwards? And I would put that same question forward just in general. One of the things that the needs assessment has shown is there are a lot of data gaps across Colorado, especially when we talk about our rural areas. What is the comparison going to be to establish whether or not these outreach efforts are effective?
Great, thank you, Liz. It just raises my mind as well. There's going to be other efforts around litter, right, that will also combine. So it's going to be partly the infrastructure as well, making it more convenient to do the right thing with them. So it's really good establishing the baseline for litter. Peter, do you have any comment on that quickly, or is that taken as a comment right now?
Yeah, I don't think I have a good answer for you right now. I don't think we do have a baseline, Liz, on litter. I think it's a very difficult one to measure. I don't think any jurisdiction necessarily is doing a great job at measuring litter. And obviously, when we start to get into litter, it does get a bit of, what's related to covered materials, what's non-covered materials. So I think it's something certainly we can look at. It's probably something we will be ensuring is obviously a part of contracting as well, to make sure that the service providers we're using are making sure that they have efforts to address litter as part of their collection, and making sure that materials aren't blowing off of trucks and things like that as we go forward.
Scott, can I add one last thing?
Yes, please.
Still related to this. What it brings to mind, Peter, and thank you for that response. is the departments that local jurisdictions that are responsible or the burden of litter falls to them are not engaged in this conversation. They're usually other components of public works or parks or streets departments that are probably not even aware that there is a producer responsibility program. And so I would just flag that as, if there is going to be an effort to measure litter and impact litter, that conversations with those departments outside of the service providers and the waste specialists would be fruitful.
Right. Thank you, Liz. We have Gail and then Jake.
Yes, Gail Gary, Steamboat Springs City Council. You know, one of the things in our community is there's just a lot of skepticism about recycling, and people question the fact that, okay, if I throw it in my recycling bin, where's it really going to go? So just kind of thinking philosophically about the education and outreach, it seems to me that creating confidence in the program and confidence with our consumers and constituents that we are actually processing and that there is a market for the materials that are being recycled. So that, again, is kind of back to that why, and just, you know, underscoring the why, and yes, indeed, this is really happening. And you know, to that kind of to that end, maybe also just addressing kind of some, you know, myth busting would be, you know, a potential education piece as well. And I don't know, Caroline, if you've done that, or if any of the other communities, but really taking on some of the major, you know, questions that arise, and, you know, people say, you know, what people say about, you know, recycling, and the fact that it's, you know, not actually, you know, going anywhere other than the landfill. So that would be one of the things that I think also needs to be addressed. So thank you.
Thanks, Gail. That's helpful. That's helpful feedback. And I think, obviously, as part of our tours, of at least just on the glass side, I think we saw lots of rationale as to, you know, organizations desperately looking for more recyclate within the state. I think provides an excellent example. So I think there's stuff we can pull from on that side to really help to create more confidence in the marketplace. And I think, you know, some of the conversations we've had about responsible end markets is making sure that we're taking some of those extra steps so that there can be more confidence in how those materials are being managed and what they're going into as inputs into new products.
Thank you. Brandon, if we can go back to the board discussion questions, so see if people can have those in mind as they comment, that would be great. Thank you. Over to you, Jake.
Okay, I'm addressing some of what Liz said with a different perspective. I've noticed that in the discussions and based on some of the questions that get asked, I'm seeing an assumption that all waste handling has a local government component. Like when we went and saw the Boulder County Recycling Center, that isn't the case everywhere. Where I'm at, the local governments, all they do is contract with a private hauler, and then they take it to their private recycling centers, and the local governments are not involved in that at all, other than just contracting the service. And so when we looked at the target audiences, you know, I saw service providers and other partner organizations. I wasn't quite sure who the service providers are. I'm guessing they definitely should be the waste haulers, but I'm not sure that our waste haulers know about extended producer responsibility, or maybe just know about it in the back of their head. And so if you're focusing on educating local governments, the same amount of effort needs to go into educating all those private waste haulers as well.
Thanks, Jake. I totally agreed with you. You know, I think we understand that there's differences in how servicing is provided across the state. And so there may be different relationships where there's more focus potentially on the service provider in some areas and delivering that educational material. In some cases, that may be more of the non-governmental groups, and in some cases, it may be more local government. So I think we're understanding that there needs to be some flexibility in how that might be approached.
And I also want to put in a plug that I thought the materials that we saw from Boulder County, the educational materials on our tour, were really, really spot on. And I think those can be an excellent place to start for the statewide format. What I've learned from my background in actually sorting compost, recycling, and trash, and directly interfacing with people as they go to throw stuff away, and fielding phone calls from the community with questions, working at festivals to do that waste stuff, is that you need examples and you need education at the point of decision making, so at the bin. So formatting some of those materials so that they can go on a sticker that you stick on a bin. And Peter, you also pointed me to an app called Know Waste, KNOWWASTE. And you take a picture of something and it shows you what it is and if it's recyclable. I've been using that. It only has about a 50% success rate. It looks like it's image recognition needs a little more training, but I think that's something that we should also either partner with that app or find something similar, because I think that would be a really good tool if it worked a little better.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, we'll go to Liz and then over to Barrett.
Thank you, Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado. So in these questions that Peter has put before us, one of the questions is, to what extent should communication be standardized across communities? And something I would like to flag is there are mountain communities that have significant wildlife concerns and safety concerns that are not necessarily applicable to the urban corridor. And I think that is an element of where the education and messaging needs to be a little bit different, because of the human and wildlife safety concerns that come into play when you're dealing with discarded materials in especially our bare regions. The other thought is talking about, are there other additional objectives or additional approaches to be considered? Something that I have seen effective in research and in my own experience is competition always brings out a behavior change. And since CAA will be tracking the performance of these communities across the state, I would encourage you to consider some sort of leaderboard or reward for those communities in different categories that are outperforming, to motivate people to say, I want my community to be in the top 10. And I don't see that competitive component listed, even though it sounds like all of the data that would be needed in order to provide that ranking would be available.
Thank you, Liz. Over to Barrett.
Yeah, good morning. Barrett Jensen with Waste Connections. I have two, if that's all right. So, on the additional approaches, I think it goes without saying, but I just want to just make the comment that, an approach of, especially from, my perspective of, and I know it's worked historically, but, with the efficiencies that we do have, right, which are great with the automatic side load trucks, that going backwards to rear load trucks, to have drivers, or even side load trucks, to have drivers getting out of our vehicles at any point in time when we don't have to have them, is not worth it, in my opinion. So I want to make sure that's, or at least it's something that I would not support, is going house by house and putting, hey, this is not a good tag on there. There is some technology that is coming up at some point. It's not there just yet, that may be able to do that for us with AI. But it's not here just yet, hopefully in the future. And then can we go back to the roles page, please? I just have a clarifying question. So with the difference between local governments and tribal organizations, and then service providers and other partners, Pete, you might have just had that on there just separately to kind of, have that out there. But through your lens, is that engagement going to be separate engagement between the local governments and tribal organizations versus the service providers and other partners? Or can that be kind of like intertwined, right? Where you have a service provider that's working with a local government, or those separate engagements on education and outreach? Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, I guess it may be different depending on the situation within each of those local governments. So I think there's probably multiple ways that could play out. So let me take that back and think about. And if I can, sorry, just a couple of follow-ups, Barrett. Maybe if I could start with you, just on the rear loader versus side loader, sort of, I guess, automated side. Your concern is just simply that you're worried about, or you encourage us to use more automated collection servicing. Is that the point? And so if you're stickering, you can't really do it with an automated side loader?
I mean, you can. Just wouldn't prefer drivers to be getting out of the vehicles. There's definitely areas, still today where rear loads are used, and that may be part of a contract that you may have, is that you do that. But to take a driver out of a truck, put a sticker on or a label is not necessarily preferred, because it just puts that driver in danger.
Okay.
All right, we have a question here, comment from Mark. We're gonna try to wind it down because we have a whole nother segment, as you know. We're gonna take public comment, do a sort of more formal of the less formal technical meeting. But Brandon, we'll go over to you, and you'll call it again and see if there's anyone else besides our person who put something into the chat. So let's take this comment from you, Mark, first.
Yeah, Mark Petrovich, Republic Services. Just wanted to add to Barrett's comment. So yes, having drivers get out of the vehicle and tag containers is really inefficient. So that's a real negative to the haulers and the efficiency and the amount of drive-bys that we do. However, in some of the city contracts that we have, we do tag containers, but that's not a situation where we're getting out and looking into each container. Drivers will tag a container that is obviously contaminated with the lid open. You have things in there or things hanging out of a container that are very obvious, will get tagged. But as a general rule, drivers can see what goes into the hopper, but once it's in the hopper, it's in the hopper, right? We don't pull things out of the vehicle. So I just wanted to piggyback on Barrett's comments that tagging, looking in and observing every container is not a process you would go through on collection. Now, I have had cities that have had city staff go ahead of a hauler. They ask for our route and they know what day material is going to be out. So a city will go out and do an audit and go can by can and look into these containers, and they will tag containers before a hauler actually gets there. So the hauler knows that it's contaminated and they can drive past it. But the city has taken that task on to help educate residents on whether they designate a part of town they want to go to or a town that's been suffering some contamination. But there are ways to go about it. But with a frontline collection employee, that's not the route to go. That's going to really hinder efficiencies. And another point to that is anytime our driver is out of the vehicle, that's a dangerous place for them to be. In the cab is the safest, but getting out of the cab, they could be hit by another vehicle. They can have a slip. They can have a fall. There are things that can happen when they're out of the cab. So safety becomes another issue as well. So thank you, Barrett, for the comments.
Great. Okay, Clinton.
Real quick. This is part of the why. And I just want to reinforce this, like what both haulers are talking about. Like you can't see contamination, but how impactful contamination can be, even at the smallest volume in one bin that affects 300 bins to 3 trucks at a transfer facility, all the way to A1 Organics or another MRF. This is the big, huge why of explaining how impactful contamination is in the recycling stream. So building campaigns around that and really showing it through video. I mean, I'm really optimistic. I know people know that about me, but I'm telling you, like, that is connecting the dots to the story of the why. And my other quick question I had for you, Peter, would be, have you guys considered building a marketing or even hiring a talented marketing company to build a brand, an overarching brand around the launch of the educational program for the Colorado EPR? EcoCycle is pretty talented at doing some of these things. Other groups across the state have done this. But like really building up on a brand that we can all get behind, that connects the dots and really engages this entire state into this program. That's just a suggestion. Now you got the marketer and me talking, so
right.
I'll back out, but thank you.
Thank you, Clinton. All right, Peter.
Yeah, so Clint, I think those types of considerations are being made right now. Obviously, we're going to be producing potentially promotion and education materials in multiple states. And so there's a need for a lot of materials to be developed. Producers will want probably some consistency around some of the materials that are going out, but I'm sure they will be tailored to some degree state by state as well, to make sure that we're taking into account the differences between each of those states. I just had two quick follow-up questions. I just didn't want to forget them before we move on, because Liz, you brought up different types of communication for wildlife reasons, and I certainly understand wildlife and its potential impact on waste management. But I guess I'm just trying to make sure I fully understand when it comes to how we might provide messaging around recycling. How might that differ in a community that might have more local bears that may decide to visit bins? Because I guess I in my head I'm thinking, generally I'm going to want you to wash out all of those materials before you put them in the bin anyway, so they don't have any residuals in them. I'm going to want to make sure they're properly secured. I guess I'm just wondering, what am I missing in what might be different on the communication side when it comes to wildlife?
Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado. So in particular, Peter, throughout Colorado, a lot of jurisdictions have very specific laws on the books related to protecting wildlife and how you store and set out materials. So that's something that will need to be taken into consideration. Is I could see a scenario where material developed for an urban area would look different than material developed for a mountain area, because the laws regarding how you set out those materials and what kind of containers you can use to set out those materials are likely to be different, because the risk of wildlife interactions are so dramatically different. So in the urban corridor, as you say, recycling that is contaminated with food products is undesirable, and it will attract animals like skunks and raccoons and crows. But in the mountain areas, that same contamination poses a serious health risk to humans that might encounter bears, because recycling that is contaminated with food has been improperly placed in the container. And so the escalation of risk is much different when we're talking about those mountain areas. Plus, the laws in those areas are different as a result. Does that make sense? And I guess this sort of ties back to what we keep this recurring theme about the why. Part of the why of contamination is affecting the system, but there are parts of the state where the why for preventing contamination when it comes to food is personal and human safety.
Okay.
And those are different messages that resonate in different ways. I think that if you tried to have a message that said to the urban residential population, don't let there be peanut butter in your peanut butter jar because you might encounter a raccoon you might encounter wildlife, that is not going to have the same impact as somebody who is facing an encounter with a 500-pound bear. Does that make sense?
Helpful. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty.
If I could just ask one more quick question, just on the community competition level. So I take the perspective on that, and again, I want to make sure that we're not encouraging just those few that may have good, that we're also trying to lift up the other communities. But I guess the one thing that comes into mind about that is we're likely dealing with large parts of the state that are going to be open market. Those service providers are likely crossing boundaries. And I'm not quite sure specifically how we're going to necessarily know how much material within the trucks that may get dropped off for processing are from one community or another.
Yeah, the idea may not be feasible. And I think that having a relative performance metric, even if it is as broad as Eastern Plains versus urban versus Front Range versus mountain, the 4 categories that the state has been divided into, people by their nature are competitive. And Coloradans take a lot of pride of place. And so although the way to do this, if it were me designing it, and this is just a notion, is it would look like performance improvement. So clearly the Western Slope and the Front Range are going to have very different absolute numbers, but there might be a way to compare their contamination level or their participation level where it's more apples to apples, and it might motivate those communities to say, we in the mountains, we're going to do better than those Front Range folks because, yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Governments like to compete too. I know that. All right. Last comment, quick, Jake, please.
Yep. So on that note of competition, I think it would be important to attach the economic value of the recovered materials. I could potentially see that backfiring if it's advertised as like, look at these do-gooders recycling. You could have a lot of the Western Slope taking pride in having the worst recycling rate. And so if you think about the mindset, again, back to the why, like your recycling is valuable. Like there is an economic driver here. And so if we can connect that recycling rate back to the value of that material and what we're doing with it in the reuse market, that'll probably have a better impact in the competition space.
All right, excellent. Great conversation. Thank you, Peter, for leading that discussion. Thanks for all of your comments. We have one public comment here, and that is from Marty Mash. And so, Brandon, how do you do this? You're gonna start the clock and is Marty off mute, and is she able to speak?
Yeah, exactly. So Marty, you've been asked to go ahead and unmute and state your name and affiliation, and then I'll start your timer, and you have 2 minutes to give your comment.
Thank you so much. My name is Marty Mach. I am with EcoCycle, and we have been doing education for getting close to 50 years here. I appreciate the shout out from Jake about the quality of the materials at the Boulder County Recycling Center. We're the primary educator for Boulder County. And we're also engaged in the TASP, the Technical Advisory Service Program. And I just wanted to share that there's a lot that we have learned in doing that program across the state. And in terms of the why and the how, I want to really underscore the importance of that and the myth busting, and just note that there are different whys and hows for different communities and different demographics, and that we really want to play into those different whys and hows. In one community, climate change is a great term to bring up. In another community, it is not, and more economic benefits is a better message. And so I also just want to point out that we've also learned a lot about how we can engage communities even where we are not actively involved in face-to-face, and that's in training community champions. And I would just urge that approach as well in getting people to learn the ins and outs of recycling and the whys so that they are good messengers within their community. And that is one of the best ways for behavior change. And I will leave it at that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be able to listen in and chime in.
Great. Thank you very much, Marty. And I believe that that is the only public comment that we have. Is that correct, Brandon?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to take now a 5-minute break, and we're going to come back for part 2. So we'll see you soon. Okay, hope you had a nice break. Welcome back, everyone. We'll now move on to the second and final topic of today's technical work session, which is post-consumer recycled content and material. Over to you, Darla.
Great, thank you, Scott. Similarly to the education and outreach program, the Producer Responsibility Act also provides a framework for post-consumer recycled content and post-consumer recycled materials, which I will refer to as PCR content and PCR material today. But before we jump into the statutory requirements for PCR, I thought it would be good to understand the two terms. So first we have PCR material, which means only those covered materials that have served their intended use as consumer items and that have been separated or diverted from the waste stream for the purposes of collection and recycling as a secondary material feedstock. The Act notes that PCR material includes return of material from the distribution chain, and further notes that PCR material does not include waste material generated during or after the completion of a manufacturing process. So that's how the statute defines PCR material, but the next definition is for the PCR content rate, which means the amount of PCR materials used in the production of covered materials in a calendar year divided by the amount of covered materials used for products sold or distributed by producers within or into their US market territory in the same calendar year, expressed as a percentage. So I've shown that definition here in a formula to best understand it, and I'm sure Pete will talk you through this a little bit more, but that formula is PCR materials used in production of covered materials divided by covered materials used for products sold or distributed by producers, which equals that percentage of PCR content rate. So those are the two definitions specifically regarding PCR in the statute. So in terms of the plan proposal and its PCR statutory requirements, the plan proposal must include 2030 and 2035 targets for the minimum PCR content rates for paper products, glass, metal, and plastic. It also must include a description of how the PRO will continue to increase the state's PCR content rates after 2030 and 2035. The plan proposal must also describe how the PRO will verify minimum PCR content rates, how PCR content rates will be calculated, such as by weight and other metrics, and describe any waivers from the minimum PCR content rates granted to a type or a subcategory of covered materials, and the criteria for evaluating such waivers, such as food safety requirements, technological feasibility, or inadequate supply. And the plan proposal, lastly, must also describe how often the waivers will be reviewed. Continuing on with additional PCR requirements in the plan proposal, it must also describe how the PRO will provide producers with the opportunity to purchase PCR materials from processors at market prices if the producer is interested in obtaining recycled feedstock to achieve its minimum PCR content rates. Also, it must describe how the program will prioritize the use of end markets that return PCR materials to their original product type. So those are all the plan proposal requirements, but there are a couple of other statutory PCR material and content requirements that the PRO must meet, and that includes a requirement to report annually on the PCR content rate for each type of covered materials, and the inclusion of an eco-modulation factor to incentivize high uses or high levels of PCR material use. And lastly, there are compliance requirements set forth by the Act for PCR content rates, which state that a producer shall make all documents and records related to the calculation of PCR content rates for the department to determine compliance. So those are all the high level PCR related statutory requirements. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Pete to talk you through recycled content thresholds, and then we'll move into a discussion. So go ahead, Pete.
Pete, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just noticed. So we have presented, or I have presented as part of a regular advisory board meeting on this topic already. This is, I would say a challenging one because in many cases, producers may not be measuring currently the amount of recycled content that might be going into their products. Certainly, there are some markets where recycled content is a regular part of materials, but post-consumer may not be a factor that's taken into account. Steel mills may be taking steel from packaging sources. They could be taking it from buildings or other applications. So the definition potentially does have an impact on what you would need from a mill. And there is also lots of other issues that come into account where there is sometimes some disjointedness between who is producing the packaging and the producer that's using that packaging. So there is some issues that we need to get worked out. We don't, at this point, as part of the study, understand exactly how much recycled content is being used when we talk about different types of packaging. So this is an area where we will need some additional room. We also obviously don't have supplied data for packaging yet because we have not had producers report in. So just if we move to the next slide, what I've tried to do in this next couple of slides is I thought it would be helpful. We've talked about, as I said, some of the stuff already, some of the challenges around what's in place. I thought I would provide some context from a few other jurisdictions. So we are starting to see some recycled content thresholds that are starting to emerge across the US. So California does have recycled content thresholds that are in place for plastic beverage containers. They started at 15% in 2022 and move up to 50% by 2030. Connecticut has moved forward as well. And you can see their rates for plastic beverage containers. And then Maine has moved forward as well. If we just move to the next slide, then we move into New Jersey. New Jersey has expanded to some degree minimum threshold requirements into other materials other than plastic beverage containers. So they have a rigid plastic container category that they've set up. And again, sort of an escalating recycling rate that's included. Glass containers are included. They do accept containers comprised of at least 50% mixed color cullet, and they have a separate recycled content threshold for those. And then there is paper carryout bags and plastic carryout bags that do have thresholds in place for New Jersey. Next slide over, I think, is Washington. Washington has set some in. They do include different materials as well. Plastic beverage containers, plastic household cleaning and personal care products are included in that, plastic wine containers, and plastic dairy milk containers. And there are different rates set for each of those different materials with, again, an escalating target. There is some certainly work happening in the European Union right now on recycled content thresholds. They're mainly focused on plastics. There are recycled content thresholds being considered in Canada as well. And again, those are mostly focused on plastic beverage containers at this point. So this is a much broader piece than we've seen in differences. There are certainly similar types of requirements that are being sought in California and Oregon. But as I said, the data is, our data poor at this point, not data necessarily rich when it comes to setting these thresholds. Next slide over. I've just included just a bit of, I just took from the two that we're dealing with broader materials. This just gives you an idea of how they're dealing with waivers in each of those two states. So in New Jersey, there is a waiver that's in place if the manufacturer cannot achieve or remain in compliance with applicable rules and regulations adopted by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration or other state or federal laws. So food contact materials often have some restrictions around potentially those areas. It's not technically feasible for the manufacturer to achieve the post-recycled content requirement, or there's inadequate availability of the recycled material or substantial disruption in the supply of recycled material. For Washington, they do have waivers in place for medical food, devices, dietary supplements, and baby formula, prescription and non-prescription drugs, aerosols in plastic containers, products in reusable containers intended to function for a system of reuse, liners, caps, corks, closures, all of those types of attachments, and pouches used to contain beverages. So it just gives you an idea as a little bit of, there's some differences within the states right now. Again, none of those states right now are as broad as what's caught in this legislation. As Darla mentioned, we have to capture plastic, paper, glass, and metal packaging, and we need to make sure that we set a minimum threshold and a means to be able to measure, or for companies to measure and report to us, and then for ability for us to be able to verify that packaging has achieved the recycling content that they have stated. So it is a fairly big undertaking as we look at implementing this one moving forward. Next slide over. I've just included some questions. I mean, this is an area that I think we are still in development on. So this is one we're looking for more early feedback on around setting these rates. I will touch on, I mean, the third bullet, and I know when I gave this to Darla, she had some questions about it herself. So we are looking at a harmonized approach of tracking across states. We are still in development of that, so I can't say I have a specific outlined pathway in those two other states, but we are looking at how to create more of that consistent approach so that companies have similar requirements across states. And when it comes to ensuring or trying to reduce undue burden, I think we're trying to look at the purpose of this is to make sure that we're encouraging greater markets for these types of materials. So, you know, to some extent, we want to make sure that we are not just creating an administrative function where we're creating a large amount of administrative work that's needed by the producer, the pro itself, to make sure that they can verify what's happening, and those markets specifically, that those end markets that we're going to need to get information from. So paper mills and steel mills and you know, plastic converters, we're going to need to get all of those information. So again, it's what's the right level and how do we try to prevent undue burden, but also try to encourage the type of behavior that we want to see coming out of this program. So it's a wide set of questions. Scott, I'll maybe hand it over to you. I mean, I think, as I said, we're earlier in the development on this side as to the approach. So as I said, we're looking for more early feedback as we look to get feedback on this side.
All right. So completely different topic than public education and outreach. Technical aspects of post-consumer recycled content per material, per product. Liz, go ahead, please.
Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado. My goodness, this is a large topic. And one of the questions I have is related to some of the information we got during our tour is many of the manufacturers of these packages are mixing recycled content with virgin content, and they're saying that it's difficult for them to measure in any specific package what the exact recycled content of that package is. And that, I don't think that is isolated to glass or aluminum or plastic. I think those material streams all share that same struggle. Do you have any insight from industry about how you can overcome that technological hurdle to tracking how much material is recycled content?
So Liz, we can look at averages that are coming from those facilities and apply those averages potentially to those to the packaging that may be produced. That may be one of the easiest ways to achieve that. But I think it's definitely a hurdle. I know we have heard from some companies too that, for instance, produce steel canisters that come from two different mills. One type of mill that can take a high amount of recycled content, and one that takes almost no recycled content because of the type of technology that they're using. And so there's a question of how many that are manufactured at one facility are going into state versus another. So one might be 50% recycled content, the other might be 0% recycled content. So I think there is some questions around how we address those types of things. And I would say to you, I think some of the producers we have right now aren't asking for this type of information from their the feedstocks from their manufacturers. So there is, to some degree, I'm a bit worried there may at least be an initial gap because they're not asking for this information. And some of them may say, well, as an example of paper, the majority of the paper is already a high level of recycled content. So why am I asking for this information?
And so to be more productive and try and provide you answers to your question, my initial advice is it sounds like the rates should be set based on averages rather than trying to track individual packages. And it also strikes me that it should be an average over time. And it seems like annual averages would be the most reasonable way to determine whether or not a producer is meeting the recycled content standards is by averaging their averages over a year.
Thanks, Liz. Appreciate that.
Go to Jake.
Okay, a couple of responses. First, I think that it is a good idea to explore a harmonized approach across states so that we can get just better compliance with these big producers, thinking like, Coca-Cola. But on that first question on how rates should be set, I definitely include eco-modulation considerations to incentivize products that are, or incentivize packaging that is infinitely recyclable or compostable, and to disincentivize things that are not, like Tetra Paks. And I would even consider plastics, that can be reformed once or a couple of times, but ultimately it gets incinerated or ends up in the landfill. So I want to see that eco-modulation factored into how those rates are set. And then should rates be established for other materials outside of statutorily required materials? I think we should. I would like to see rates set for things like batteries and e-waste, because those are things that we're struggling to deal with now, and there's a lot more in the pipeline that's going to be coming. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Jake. Are there any other comments here? We've got four questions on post-consumer content. Liz has another one. Go ahead, Liz, please. That's good. That's good. I didn't mean to call you out. I'm glad you did.
Liz Chapman, Recycle Colorado, the endless source of questions in any circumstance. So one of the questions that Peter has posed to us here is what kind of approach should be taken for waivers? And part of what you had listed in your presentation is there are other jurisdictions that have stated if it is technologically impossible to do it, or if it's unsafe, meaning that especially food grade contact packaging cannot comply with both recycled content and FDA food safe standards, those seem like reasonable places to put into place waivers and exemptions. However, the cynic in me from my many years in government and being in a regulatory position makes me very cautious about creating waivers and exemptions, because in my experience, anytime you provide a out for compliance, people bend over backwards to make sure that they can take advantage of that out. And so here I am not offering great concrete answers, but I think there needs to be a balance between granting reasonable waivers because it's not technologically possible or it poses human health and safety standards, with being tight enough with the regulations that it doesn't provide an easy loophole.
And Peter, while you're if you want to respond to that before we get to you, Gail, what it raises for me here is like, well, technologically feasible according to whom, and if there are the standards out there, and I'm wondering, Peter, if you've come across sort of industry standards in use of post-consumer for various types of materials, particularly those for paper, plastic, metal, glass, and the items that are listed in the law. So I'm wondering if there are, from Liz's question here, it just begs the question, what type of industry standards are there? So if they're going for the waiver, you don't have to look through life cycle assessments that the company paid for, or whatever it's going to be, that it's really a recognized standard. I wonder if there are any out there, or if you've come across any.
There's certainly examples, I think, Scott, that can be taken from other jurisdictions that have exemptions in place. Food contact is probably an area where there's some consistency around that, those types of materials, where there's federal requirements that may not allow for larger amounts. So I think there's clear areas where we probably can look to other jurisdictions to see where there's waivers that are already sort of in place, and in again, some of those other jurisdictions that we spoke to, whether they're in the US or outside of the US, I think we could probably pull from some of those.
Okay, thank you. And hopefully those waivers are based on some technical industry standards, so we can get to there. Gail,
if I can,
yeah.
Sorry, Scott, if I could just add, one more question, because I guess, I struggle to some degree. We did a big tour in Colorado. We heard very clearly from the glass industry that I want more of this glass because economically it's cheaper for us to use this material. There's more of an environmental to use this material than there is for us to take in virgin materials. So I partly wonder, when I look at certain materials like glass and say, are we just having people report for the sake of reporting? Are we actually driving any type of additional activity by setting a minimum recycled content threshold for those materials? And I just put the question out there more just because maybe I'm wrong on it, but it seemed to be a very clear message that I was hearing, that they they want more material because it helps to reduce their overall cost in building new glass packaging.
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Peter. We'll go Gail, Caroline, and then Clinton.
All right, Gail Gary, City of Steamboat Springs City Council. That is a definitely an interesting question, right? And probably something that may be more specific to the various different materials. I just wanted to underscore the comments that have been made regarding the exemptions or the waivers and making sure that those are as tight as possible. And to the extent that there are industry standards or various different things that can be relied upon, again, as a policymaker, once you start allowing for exemption and waivers, the line gets long behind, the first person that comes in. So we need to make sure that there are, clear kind of parameters, and also not lose sight of the overall goal, right? Which is to increase our recycle rates, right? And kind of the post-consumer recycled content. So to the extent that we're saying there's a technology maybe use that doesn't allow this, I mean, I think we certainly want to incent, right, the technology to basically support more recycled content. So as I think it absolutely is a balance, but I think we need, if we're going to tip the scale one way or the other, right, we want to tip it toward getting more recycled content. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
All right, we've got a reminder for us from Valentina, and it's a reminder for me as well to speak slowly. Keep it at a conversational pace for the interpreters. So thank you, Valentina, for that reminder. Okay, over to Caroline.
Caroline Mitchell, City of Fort Collins. I have a couple of different questions. I'm curious with the question about materials beyond paper, plastic, metal, and glass, if there should be rates established for them. I'm wondering, Pete, if you had any particular materials in mind.
There's a bunch of niche materials. I think I'm asking the question. I think the answer is probably no, but I mean, you will get sacks, burlap sacks that'll be used that are more of a cloth textile material. You will get wood materials that are used as packaging. So, clementine boxes and things like that. I don't think we can recycle the wood in that same kind of way. So I think it's more looking at some of those. Ceramics probably fit into that if we're not including it as a glass. So it's more those types of more niche products. I think obviously paper, plastic, metal, and glass captures the broadest range, the 98% or whatever it is of the things. Clinton, I think, has mentioned before, compostable packaging. It's obviously different. I don't think we can really consider recycled content as part of that. But the question is more just to make sure, that there isn't a different perspective coming from the group ahead of time, so we know that.
Okay, thank you. That makes some more sense. I guess I've been thinking mostly about the materials on the minimum recyclables list, but I guess you're expanding beyond that. And I guess for what it's worth, I think my feedback is probably let's start focused on those 98% and, if in the future it makes sense to expand beyond that. But, I think in the context of the waiver conversation that folks have been talking about, I agree. I share the experience that once there's a waiver available, there is a lot of focus on it from anyone involved. And I think both because of that and because the elements that may be part of these waivers could change. Maybe a shorter time of like every, waiver only being applicable for a year, maybe a maximum of 2 years, could help with the adaptability, as things change, sort of finding that sweet spot between administrative burden for everyone involved, but also acknowledging that things change and that it's not a sort of like get a waiver and just forget about it sort of situation. I'm thinking also about there's a lot of conversation around the chemical recycling of plastics, and sort of what role that could play in the future. And I wonder, I don't remember if there is any guidance in the legislation. I am not an expert in all of that, but I believe that at least the proposed technologies compete with the existing PET recycling systems. And I'm wondering if you have any perspective on if that's addressed in any way in the legislation, and or if that is anticipated to be, if it's not addressed in the legislation, it would anticipated to be considered part of post-consumer recycled, or just if you've given that any thought.
So maybe I'll give a little signal to Darla, because I think she might be able to pull the clause. But
Yep.
there is a clause specifically in there in the legislation that deals with materials that are being managed differently from mechanical recycling. Sorry, Darla, I think you might have.
Yep. Yeah, I can speak to that. So the statute speaks to what recycling is and is not. And it says that recycling means the reprocessing by means of a manufacturing process of a used material into a product or a secondary raw material. It further states that recycling does not include energy recovery or energy generation by means of combustion, use as a fuel, or use as alternative daily cover as defined in section 30-20-1402(1), or landfill disposal of a discarded covered material. So if it further states in a different section that if a different type of recycling is wanting to be used other than a manufacturing process, that an environmental impact analysis needs to be conducted.
But I think generally, if they were using chemical recycling to produce an input into their packaging, that would be something that we would consider as part of the recycled content that's been added. I don't think it specifies necessarily right now as to whether it needs to be from mechanical recycling or otherwise. Is that fair to say? That clause specifically refers to what we're processing and what we're managing. But if a producer was using an input that was through chemical recycling, then that would be included as part of what they could report. You're looking like I'm
I think that was a question from Peter, and I think Darla, you gave a yes nod.
Yeah, I want to think about that and think through that, and because there are so many different types of chemical recycling out there before I give an affirmative answer.
Yeah, it seemed like a tentative nod, so why don't we come back with that one? This will be one which we will come back to the advisory board and the rest of the public here with a comment. So park that for now, and great question. Okay, I believe that Clinton, you are next.
Sorry, can I
Yep.
just finish
Go,
that
Carolyn.
one up really quick?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, you've come somehow. Even though you're on screen, you got to the bottom of my list, so you're on the second tier here. So I apologize for that. Go ahead.
I'm still here.
You're still there. Great.
Thank you. I guess maybe pending whether there is full clarity already from the legislation. If there's not, it seems like something that is worthwhile to try and create some rules around prior to them having to be implemented. If the in chemical recycling outputs are whether or not that would be, in what circumstances or in none, that would be considered post-consumer recycled content. So it just seems like something that is worthwhile making sure we're extra clear on prior to us getting to implementation phase. And I guess I just also wanted to name, I don't know exactly the best way to do it, but sort of name another one of the goals in exemptions or waivers to find how to provide waivers in situations where technologies don't exist right now, or whether there are barriers right now, but how do you also incentivize those barriers being addressed? There is that element where providing a waiver for something can sort of stop the incentive for progress in some senses. So I know Jake was referring back to the eco-modulation perspectives. So I don't know exactly what the mechanism is, but it seems like even in circumstances where there's a waiver, it behooves us to try and figure out how we can still be incentivizing addressing the barriers that are creating that waiver. So
Great.
thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Okay, now over to Clinton.
Clinton Sander, A1 Organics. This question's for Peter, and I just want to know if I'm understanding this correctly. But with the types of an approach that should be taken for exemptions or waivers, could a waiver that was based around food content, and that was the waiver, wouldn't that potentially increase the inputs of the compostables into the stream, because that could be potentially an out by switching over to that material, which could potentially increase the volume, which could then be quick. That could be quick, and then we don't have the infrastructure in place potentially to process those, or yada yada yada. But I'm just wondering, is that an unintended consequence, or couldn't that potentially lead to something in that direction? Maybe, or am I not understanding that correctly?
Could it lead to an incentive
to switch to compostables?
I don't I mean, my first response would be I don't think so. Apologies, I have chaos happening around me. I don't think so, Clinton. I'm trying to think about why that might happen. I don't think it would be necessarily. I mean, there's going to be lots of factors that come into play around the pricing of different types of packaging that's going to really fit into eco-modulation, how fees are set. I don't necessarily think that this will be the driver of it around the recycled content threshold, but it's probably part of the conversation we need to have as we dive more deeply into how eco-modulation is going to be set up and how it fits with the rest of fee setting.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, that was not a coherent answer, and I apologize.
I just,
a lot of activity, dogs jumping and everything happening around it. I apologize.
It's just thinking through on it, like always, knowing the end at the beginning and thinking about unintended consequences from maybe incentivizing someone not, but I think you understood what I meant. And then I just wanted to say something real quick, like, yes, no, you don't traditionally make more compostables out of compostables, because we break them down and turn them into compost.
Yeah.
But, compost is the product that you should be bringing back. So that's the disconnect between the type of recycling that we're talking about here with PCR and my kind of recycling, where our finished product is compost, which needs to be supported if we're going to break down your compost packaging. Just going to put that out there.
Demand.
Yeah. And I think, Clinton, like, I think we're just talking about a different mechanism, right? I mean, the reason that people have put recycled content thresholds in is because they want to try to drive market activity for these demand for these materials that we're collecting. And I totally appreciate that the issue with when we move into the compostable area is different. It's a different type of thinking. Maybe there's different types of incentives that need to be applied in a different way. So
yeah, well, if there's a level of responsibility to purchase or procure the finished product created from the diversion of those materials, it's really important to do that, because then you're going to want to bring back and buy the best finished compost that you can get. And what we see happen as they divert with compostables, they don't want to buy that compost, but they want to get the other high quality compost that doesn't have them in them. So you're really disincentivizing that finished compost versus having a level of responsibility for the highest quality of finished compost you want and making sure that that's priority number one. I will get off my soapbox and I'll step away.
Totally fair. We've had some
Yeah.
chats on this, on cat litter and diapers and everything else that gets added in. So yes, totally appreciate it. Thank you, Clint.
Very interesting point of getting the demand there, and how it's different than eco-modulated fees when we talk about post-consumer recycled content of recyclables. So it's an interesting point, and well taken. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz Chapman with Recycle Colorado. And I am going to extend the conversation on this compostable packaging. And thank you, Clinton, for your comments. And this may not be the right time to talk about this because this may be more directly related to eco-modulation than it is to post-consumer content. But it strikes me that the parallel for the compostable packaging universe to post-consumer content is compostability. And it strikes me that in the eco-modulation of the fees assessed for compostable products, rather than having the metric be how much post-consumer content is in that package, but rather what is the value of that compostable feedstock that is making that compostable packaging, because not all compostable packaging is created equal. Some of it is more conducive to breaking down in the system than others, and those should be the materials that we are using this lever to encourage use of. And again, perhaps this is best suited to the eco-modulation conversation, but it was coming up for me because I was trying to think about, well, how does this relate to the fees assessed for compostable packaging?
Great, thank you, Liz. Peter, I don't know if you want to make a comment there, or you can move on to Barrett next.
I think that's it's an interesting point, Liz. I think it's I mean, it's a massive topic to undertake in the sense of the inputs, the compostables that go into different types of facilities may function differently in those different facilities. So I don't think it's necessarily a clear and simple answer.
Okay, we'll go to Barrett and then Gail. Okay.
Thank you. Barry Jensen, Waste Connections. I totally understand the goal to try to increase the demand for these materials, which is why I think you should keep those materials at the minimum of what they are right now. But also be really careful on what that percentage is when you're trying to set that minimum standard, because you could create a huge demand for something and not have the supply, right? Especially if we're going to be picking out specific materials later on through eco-modulation. We could create a huge high demand for something, which will likely increase the cost to the consumer, which is something we really try to avoid in this legislation. So I just want to keep that in mind when setting that minimum PCR rate, that we're not creating too high of a demand so that doesn't make it very expensive.
Thank you. Marty, you have, I don't know how to mute you there, but if you could mute your phone, that would be great. And while I've got the sort of the mic here, let me just hand it over to Brandon for a quick announcement for public comment. Brandon?
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, prior to us jumping into our public comment period here, I do just want to call out again that if you're interested in providing public comment on the topic of PCR, please submit your name and your organization in the chat, and we'll call on attendees in the order that the requests were received. I just want to note, since we have limited time, we're only going to allow 2 minutes for each comment, and we encourage you to focus on the topics that we're discussing currently during the meeting. As a reminder, public comment is for feedback only, and if you have questions, please submit them to eprcomments@state.co.us. Currently, we have Tyler Rudd in the queue for public comment. Thank you, Scott. I'll give you the mic back here.
Thank you, Brandon. And you can perhaps put that that link in there into the chat right now, so that if people want to put a public comment, they can get to you, and we will go to Gail.
Thank you, Scott, Gail, Gary, Steamboat Springs City Council. And this may be a future conversation, but I think as I was thinking about the eco-modulation, particularly as it relates to or the intersection with exemptions and waivers, I just was trying to, how do we think about that, right? How do we think about exemptions and waivers as we think about kind of the eco-modulation? And how does that play into it? And how does that kind of, back to Barrett's comment, factor into this whole overall kind of cost? So again, maybe a future conversation.
So Gail, I would imagine that if you were providing a waiver to a company, you can't, as when you eco-modulate, be pretty difficult because you've given a waiver and exemption to that, or that specific packaging. It would be difficult then to assess a cost. So I think that would probably zero out as part of the eco-modulation side if they've got a waiver in place or an exemption in place. I think it just simply wouldn't be factored in as part of eco-modulation.
Mm-hmm.
And just quickly to Barrett's point, I think it's a helpful one for us to think about. I do remember a couple of years ago having conversations with the UK as they move forward with their plastic tax. One of the issues I think they saw was where recycled content, for HDPE as an example, wasn't necessarily available, or not a huge supply of it. So that was bought up by a lot of the companies that produced higher value products, or where there's more of a margin. So, shampoos and conditioners and all of that type of thing. And what ended up happening was the dairy industry, which has low margins, ended up moving out of HDPE containers because the plastic tax was hitting them harder, and moved to other products that were less recyclable. So I remember, as part of that conversation, there can be some unintended consequences that come out of decisions when you set things potentially in a specific way. So helpful feedback to think about.
Okay, great. I know we have a public comment here. And so, Caroline, before we get to you, hopefully we'll have the time for that. I think we will. I'm going to hand it over to Brandon.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. So our comment today is from Tyler Rudd from the Central States Council for Wine Institute. Unfortunately, Tyler's microphone isn't working, so I'm gonna read his comment for us here. So my feedback is that with certain wines, particularly sparkling wines, the wine cannot be contained in a bottle that has a certain amount of PCR material without the bottle breaking. While I do not know the maximum amount of recycled glass that can be used, I will find that out for everyone. And I would also like to note that this may also apply to beer bottles as well. And thank you, Scott. That is our only public comment, so I'll redirect it back to you.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Tyler. And now I will hand it over to Caroline. If you still have your question ready, there you are.
I do. This is Caroline Mitchell, City of Fort Collins. Perhaps stating the obvious, but I think the industry organizations for paper, plastic, metal, and glass likely have, a good level of expertise of the reasonable PCR targets that can be sort of like a nudge above where we are now to keep moving things forward without, creating such a radical shift that we might, completely upset the system. So I guess just, I'm assuming those conversations are also happening on the side, acknowledging that that might be a good source of information for that information.
Thanks, Caroline. So, yeah, I mean, certainly we are talking to the end markets right now to understand the applicability, and obviously we're just trying to make sure we understand all of the the various nuances with all of the types of packaging. So I think as the public comment that came in, I guess if there's a pressurized level in certain containers, whether that be a beverage of some type, or an aerosol or a pressurized cylinder or something like that, there may be some restrictions on that. And we're just trying to make sure we understand all of that as we go forward. And that some of those groups may not have all of that information, so I think we're just trying to make sure we get it out there publicly as much as possible, so we hear about them ahead of time.
All right. I am not seeing any other hands up. I think we've all questioned ourselves out. So great questions. All right. So I want to thank everyone for all your presentations, your questions today. I want to thank the board members for their questions. And, we're at that time for wrap up and adjournment. So the follow up here is PSI will compile all of the board's feedback for Pete and the Circular Action Alliance team. And that draft feedback will be saved in the advisory board shared folder. Our next technical work session on July 25th will be focused on eco-modulation. Hey, there you go. Got some more PCR eco-modulation we can maybe bring in. Eco-modulation and further discussions on the post-consumer recycled content. So today was definitely a good warm-up for that kind of discussion and consultation between CAA and the board. The meeting recording for today's meeting will be posted on the EPR webpage within the next few days. So please join us at our next regularly scheduled advisory board business meeting on July 10th. Now, members of the public, stakeholders, thank you very much for attending today. We, of course, value your participation and partnership, and really appreciate you taking time out of your day to be part of this EPR program implementation. I will close by thanking again the board for the great feedback and questions. Thank Pete for always being there at the other side of the court. It's kind of like a tennis match, it's like different people coming in and hitting over questions, and Pete's there, and he's been there to the end, and with all the craziness in the background, you did it wonderfully. So thank you, Pete. And we're going to now move to on to building this model for Colorado. Keep it going. I want to thank the interpreters for your support and for making our meetings more accessible. And we really appreciate your work. And hopefully we've talked slowly enough throughout. So again, the second technical work session of 2024 is now adjourned at 11:49 a.m. Thank you very p.m. a.m. Excuse me, 11:49 a.m. So yeah, Boston time, Colorado time. There you go. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.